validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
All right, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? To this and that. I'm your host Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Uh, we're still working on stuff. We got a lot of stuff. So I was running late today. I know some of y'all was wondering where I was. I know, and I was. There's always something, but I was running late today for other unforeseen circumstances. Because while we were updating our status on YouTube, we had to get the AdSense recalibrated and get all the tax ID information set up because it was this time last year when we were really getting everything set up for the show. So then after that we were trying to get the stream key for the channel still. And I don't know, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, we're still trying to figure that out. So me and Mr. Pibbs, we were tightrope walking on that, trying to see what we can do to get information on that front. And computer's lagging, as you can see, not what we had hoped, but we were working on that. Steven says, searching for you in the daylight with the flashlight tonight. Oh, look, it's been one of them days, man. Then when I look at the script, it's like 25 pages. It's like, wait, what? That's like a 30-minute show. So I was like, no, there's got to be more information. There's got to be more information. It's the correct show, But when we just talk about the coin, I should have piggybacked it on something else. It would have been another hour long information. But uh, the issue that we have right now is that the war's still continuing. There's no new updates on it. Um, there's no press conferences about it. It's almost like we have moved on, and like the conflict that's happening overseas is in fact just normal day to day operations. So that was disappointing. Then uh, we had the um, understanding that like there are no scandals in the White House right now, from what we see. So the policies that we've already covered, we've um, we've not gotten any updates. So we're like, dang. So the only new thing that's happened recently was the change in currency. So I'm sitting over here thinking, okay, well, we're going to talk about the change in currency. That's going to take us a little bit of time. And oh, the other thing that I actually pushed it back. I could have threw it into today's show, but I have a whole special show for that. Was the things that Donald Trump does to not have to pay taxes. Um, so that got pushed back to like later this year. And because of that, it's like, well, I don't have what I thought I had. So I'm like, man, this is one of them days where just nothing goes according to plan. So I'm like, damn, I'm trying to see what else can we accomplish tonight. But while we're still working on the while we're still working on getting the TikTok thing together, and then because we're looking at making quite a few changes in the channel. He said that'll be the show that gets you canceled. Well, okay, so no, legitimately, some there are some strategies that the wealthy use, and it typically revolves around LLCs, C corporations, all the stuff that we've been talking about. And it's the things that are done. But when he did it on a grander scale, his billions of dollars only had like $1 million worth of taxation on it. You know, for us, these things wouldn't work on such a grand scale. But for those of us that are making like a $250,000 worth of taxation, if we were looking at certain tax deductions and tax breaks that we focus our spending on, we would have more qualified deductions. So the way I was going to cover that show, and now that I'm looking at this one, I got to proofread the other one because you're right. I don't want to say something that'll get me canceled. Uh, we will be talking about the tax codes that he took advantage of and how we could focus our spending in similar directions to qualify for certain tax codes. Because you got to understand, if you're operating under an LLC, not if you just have a shell corporation and you're just kind of like paying your personal bills out of your business bank account. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like you have a legitimate whatever website that you set up that's paying you dividends, that's not your W 2 paycheck, or if that's your only income, that business makes money doing stuff, right? Now, from there, the purchases that you make on the business could potentially become tax deductions. The wealthy are usually involved in the company some kind of way, typically towards the top, and since they represent the company when they do things in life, and then they also have to travel on behalf of the company, negotiate deals on behalf of the company, certain portions of their life becomes part of. Okay, hold on. Let me see. We got somebody that's trying to jump in from TikTok side. Hello, how can I help you? We're just getting started on today's show. We're actually supposed to be discussing the new coins that just came out for the 250th anniversary. But before that, I was telling everybody about some of the stuff we're going to be doing in upcoming shows for because this is actually a live podcast that's on YouTube, and we actually trying to get our stream key from TikTok and phase you guys into YouTube as well. So, were you jumping in just for the sake of jumping in, or were you jumping in because you had something to chime in on the topic?
Just jumping in for sake of knowing something quality about you.
Well, here on this and that, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, we talk about everything that you need to work on your professional life as well as your personal life. We give you guys information about how, like, for example, today being Monday, how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Today, we're talking about some new political changes that's involving the U.S. Mint and how that is going to play a role in a lot of people's spending habits because a lot of supporters are going to be trying to buy those commemorative coins. And then Tuesdays, we typically talk about different ways to make, save, and invest money, investment opportunities, stock options, other such things. Then we have we talk about different countries around the world that you can potentially invest in and go and live in. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we give you guys information about personal development, self improvements, relationship topics, socialization, negotiations, building your brand. We also discuss raises, promotions, retirement, forced retirements, 401ks, severance packages, termination, and then ultimately giving you guys a lot of information about why it's important to build your 20 and 30-year plan, and then also give you guys more ways to build your 20 and 30-year plan because where you see yourself.
You are doing a great job. I'll get down to get in touch with you to just check about you. Then later, I'll get in touch with you. It's fine.
Not a problem. I look forward to it. So as I was telling everybody else, yes, we give you guys a lot of information on how to get yourselves where you need to be at because you got to pay attention to your 20 and 30 years from now, and you got to figure out what you got to do today to get there. And you can't procrastinate and say, "Oh, well, I'll wait until X, Y, and Z happens," or "I'll wait until A, B, and C happens." Because a lot of times, if you wait to make change, if you wait to take action, you'll find yourself in a position where you're not going to be able to take that action anymore. You no longer qualify for that action. So that's one of the reasons why we were dealing with the spins today. We coming in late, but yeah, when I was telling you guys about the fact that we were supposed to be talking about what Trump did with his taxation thing, there are certain policies that he does use, and they're not all of them. It's just a lot of the ones that helped him save a lot of money on his taxation that we're going to be covering on the show, and we're going to be giving you guys some insights as to because this is public records that he provided to everybody. Because I know he gave the soundbite uh, that he doesn't pay taxes, but let's be real, he did, right? He may personally have not put in the paperwork, but he definitely did cover some taxation. So what we were looking at was uh man, if out of billions of dollars, dude only paid 1 million, that's like 1%. And when we're looking at that on a smaller scale, out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, we might have to pay $100, and for the sake of a lot of times we might find ourselves exempt from taxation. So I was like, you know what, that seems fantastic for us to go ahead and cover that down the line. I just didn't pull it up for today's show. I probably should have. So today might not be as long as I would like it to be, but you know, uh, it's one of those things that we just got to deal with, and it really depends on how our conversations go. Because a lot of the times, Michael likes to give us one of those side conversations that takes up an hour of the show, and if that happens, hey, we can fill the time slot. And then one of the other things that we do for those of you that are still watching us on TikTok, we also do questions and comments from the fans. Preferably on Wednesday, on Sunday nights, you guys have questions and have answers, but it's more like questions about you guys and what I can do to aid you guys in being more successful. I know that a lot of people like to want to get to know me, but unlike a dating app, I'm the guy that is the source of the majority of the information that you need to at least know where to start looking. If it is not all of the information that you need to be successful, right? And we put a lot of information into the membership on YouTube that kind of aids you guys in your abilities to take off and make yourselves more successful. So it's highly encouraging to get you guys to really, like, subscribe, and mash those reaction buttons while you're here. But then also go back and go and double check those memberships. Now, I am going to tell you guys, because it is one of the most important things that we got to talk about here, is that, while we don't always start on time, I tell you guys on a regular basis, we do not let the sun rise without going live, right? even if we don't start on time. And that's going to be the main reason why we ask you guys to do that. He says, can I bring up a straw man topic today? You know what? Go ahead. You start with your straw man topic because your straw man topic might take up more of the information than what we have. Because I talk pretty fast. And I'm pretty sure I can cover 25 pages in 25 minutes. But today we're supposed to be really talking about the two coins we're going to be talking about is the 250 commemorative gold coin that is a gold plated coin, and then the other 24 karat gold coin that the U.S. Mint is selling, and then we're going to be talking about like what's going on with the profits and losses of that. Uh, so kind of want to cover all that stuff today, and I was sitting over here thinking, man, I thought I had put in here a hell of a lot more information about it, but unfortunately I didn't. Um, so I'm going to be adding in some extra stuff on the back end here to make sure that you guys have the knowledge that you need to have. Okay, hold on. Let me see your strawman topic in this question right here. Because some of the information that I wanted to talk about on this particular topic isn't even in here. And that's the part that I wasn't paying attention to. So hold on, let me see. Steven's got questions about Charles Schwab's. Oh, okay, hold on. All right. So let's see. Steven says, I'm thinking about opening a second brokerage account, Charles Schwab's or Vanguard. Charles Schwab's and Fidelity are the two like highest recommended accounts that you can switch over to from Stash app, or if you're just trying to have another brokerage account in addition to the one that you're doing with Stash. Reason being, because and I know that you've got a lot of money sitting there in CDs and other such places, and I know you want to relocate them as those accounts mature. So I would say because Charles Schwab's allows for you to set it up and you can micromanage the transactions yourself with no fees. Fidelity does the same thing. Both of those accounts can work toward a trust where if you were building a trust in the future, you would be able to kind of like incorporate that into the trust. And the difference between Charles Schwab's and Fidelity is that Charles Schwab's only has the trust name on the account. Fidelity has like the trustees and all the other people listed on the account. So between the two companies, between Charles Schwab's and Fidelity, Charles Schwab's gives you more invisibility towards your assets. However, Fidelity has an option, even though like they kind of list all of the beneficiaries on the account and all this other stuff. Fidelity has this option where when you're investing, it will sweep all of the extra cash that doesn't go into a stock or ETF or whatever into a high interest savings account until you have the ability to either distribute it to other people or reinvest it back into the portfolio. Now, both of them, while they do have ETF options, both of them have the requirement that you pay 100% of the stock price when you're buying a stock. So, since I have not set up a Charles Schwab or a Fidelity account, I cannot navigate them for you to be able to discuss exactly how effective accessing stockable ETFs are. And when I say stockable ETFs, we are trading ETFs on Stash App. And the fact that we're trading ETFs on Stash App, they are ETFs towards reputable stocks that you can get from TD Ameritrade or Acorn. Now, the difference is that Stash App, you could put $5 towards a stock that is valued at $250. Whereas with Charles Schwab's, if you were buying the stock, not the ETF, the stock, if it was $250, you had to put $250 to get one share. So if you had $10,000 to move to Charles Schwab's, that would be a fantastic move. Same thing with Fidelity. If you had $10,000 to move to Fidelity, that would be a good move. But when you're dealing with like $5,000 and you're trying to spread that across like 21 stocks where each one of them's got a few $100s a piece, and the prices vary, where you're not going to have exact dollar for dollar amounts or all of the shares that you acquire, you want to kind of dance around more ETFs. So I would set up the accounts, because setting up the accounts, from what I understand, is free. There's no membership fees and service charges the way we have membership fees with the Stash app, even though Stash app gives us back more money in stock options than what we paid in membership fees. The fact is that Charles Schwab's is free to use, especially if you're managing it on your own, and it starts costing money when you start upgrading to services like having the system run it for you, or having a broker run it for you, or something to that effect. So that to answer your question, between Charles Schwab's and Vanguard, Charles Schwab's would be the one. He says, "I'm on staff for life." Me too. I think I'll also be doing Schwab soon. That's my perspective was small investment opportunities. I was going to be continuing to do Stash App, and then like the business and everything, start putting everything into the business through Charles Schwab's, because that's larger amounts of money. And then from there, start trying to acquire all of the ETFs on Charles Schwab's that I have on Stash App. I've done the research and verified that all of the stocks that we have on the 54 stocks that we have going across the screen on YouTube channel, all of those stocks are verified as ETF available on Charles Schwab's. So as long as you select it correctly, and I appreciate, ooh, somebody sweet put up a lot of likes on here. I really appreciate that. Uh, Bordeaux, Bordeaux, I appreciate Bordeaux. And then she done gone ham on the ticket. But yeah, so we were talking about Charles Schwab's, and I think that that one is going to be the one that I put the majority of my larger capital on, because that's going to aid me in my ability to move my money around. But since we're in a situation, hold on, let me plug up the computer. Since we're in a situation where the me actually not being W-2, my IRA would be less beneficial to me, because IRAs typically work against like earned income kind of situations. So sole proprietors, small business owners, partnerships, other stuff. If the structure isn't worked out the same way, throwing myself into an IRA would be double taxed, like a penalty kind of thing. So I had to reassess my situation and say, well, instead of running towards an IRA, I need to revamp my situation and go towards larger ETF investments. So, because it is good, you said it's going to be your third account. It is good for me to get into it in that perspective, because not a lot of people recognize that you can invest in a lot of different places, but you got to invest in places that, one, doesn't charge you transaction fees for every transaction that you make. Two, they don't charge you to withdraw. They don't charge you to deposit, stuff to that effect. And then three, you got to be able to have easy access to your capital. So if you are trading on a trading platform, typically the fintech is easier to do, but there's going to be something that you got to pay somewhere, because it's the cost of doing business, and we understand that. But at the same time, you want to make sure that the cost of doing business doesn't exceed your profit margin, because you want to do this to make a profit. You're not trying to do this to make somebody else a profit, where they're just holding your money for the sake of holding your money. That's not what we're trying to accomplish, right? So, um, okay. I got some backup information for us. Now, let's go ahead and dive to some of this. And if you've got another strawman topic on this, make sure that you throw that in there, Stephen, because today's going to be a free for all show. Since today we talking about money, all your questions related to money, like, you need to throw them in here today, and we're gonna go ahead and go cover all of that stuff, because today was not what I was expecting today. It's just something that it turned out to be this way, because I didn't proofread the script before I started it. Oh, you said that was it for today? Hey, well, I'm glad I'm here to help. I checked the membership, and there was no extra comments in there that I needed to draft a report on. And I've been doing a lot of releases lately, where all of the financial stuff, that even the matter of fact, what I'm talking to you right now about for the IRS thing is actually being released soon, like within the week, within the next few days. The information that you can utilize to rethink how you spend your money. That's what I was going to say. So And this is why I write a script. So because I have so many things on my head, and I don't want to trail off onto five different rabbit holes at the same time because I'll lose you guys. Um, Here's the thing: when you spend money, we've talked on the show plenty of times. The mentality and idea of I can't afford something is not because I'm broke and I can't actually afford it. It's because I cannot afford to invest my capital in that when my capital would benefit me better doing something else, right? Opportunity cost. Now, when we start talking about opportunity cost towards taxation, what you're trying to accomplish is putting your money in places where your money is making money for you or making purchases that benefit your bottom line. And a purchase that benefits your bottom line is a purchase that, while it is a liability purchase, it can be utilized as an asset because it is a tax deduction. But in order for you to know which purchases are a tax deduction, you would have to read the tax codes on what is tax deducted under a business, an LLC, a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or whatever the case may be. Because while LLCs and C corporations have different tax benefits, the fact is that what I was telling you earlier, a big business entity could exist. The owner or founder or whatever CEO guy of that big business could go places and do things for the business that makes money for the business. And in the midst of doing that, they can get per diem or reimbursed for doing it. So you can take the company car, take the company phone, go to a company hotel, apartment, condo, or whatever, and then meet up with the company's partners, the shareholders, investors, whatever guys, and then have a conversation over breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and potentially have to entertain the client in order to get the client to sign on, and certain office parties or office events and all of these other things. All of this can be covered in some degree as tax deductions. And that's why we was going to be talking about that in the upcoming show, because like taking a trip to another country, travel, plane tickets back and forth to other countries, to other states even, are all things that can be per diem and covered under tax deductions. So when you're working on a partnership, an LLC, when you're working on like a small business, a family owned business kind of situation, you find yourself in a position where you, your wife, and all of your kids all work for the same business. It's a family business. So when the family goes somewhere and talks business or does business somewhere else, that family trip is a business trip, not a family vacation. While you can still have a vacation on that family trip, the fact is that if you went there on business and enjoyed yourself while you are taking care of business, you took care of business, and that trip is a tax deduction. There's a certain quantity of time that you have to spend doing work in order for you to get that written off. You're not just going there and riding on boats and swimming on seas and this, that, and the stuff. You're actually going there and you're taking care of business. Like, for example, if I went to Japan and started up a real estate business, I could go there, I could start the business. And while I'm waiting on the paperwork to be finalized, I could be sightseeing, climbing mountains, talking to chicks, whatever I want to do while I'm out there. And then once the paperwork is finalized, that 12-month business trip is exactly that, a 12-month business trip. I went there to set up the business. When I left, the business was set up. Whatever I paid for in order to accomplish that within reason now, that actually gets written off on the business's expenses. Now, this is only plausible when the business makes money. And that's one of the reasons why I tell you guys on a regular basis, instead of just going to work for your 9 to 5, instead of just chasing whatever your boss tells you to do, start you up a side hustle, start you up a little side project, something that you like to do, or something that you know, because people pay for convenience, and people pay for pain points. Pain points are things that are hurting their ability to be successful, the things that cause them the bottleneck and not be as successful as they could get because the opportunity is limited by their performance. But convenience is I'm too lazy to do it. And in that situation, they're willing to pay for somebody else to do it for them. In either scenario, if you're able to automate that and turn that into a business, it's something that um, businesses would not replace with a robot as of yet, because there's so many things going on, and it makes more sense for you to just run in and say, let me help you out with this, subcontract to it, invoices, blah blah blah, and make it happen. Now you're drawing in all of this stuff. Guess what you're doing while you're on trips? invoices, blah, 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 setting stuff up out there. And now you got proof that, hey, when I went out there, I went here, I went there, I talked to this guy at the embassy, I talked to this guy on this property, I went over here, I socialized with these individuals. And as a result, I spent this much money in Nagoya. And that's a tax write off. So when you look at like Donald Trump flew to China, he ain't paying for that out of his own pocket, not because he's the president of the United States, but because when you're doing work for your job, his job as a president, when you're doing work for your job, the cost of getting the work done should not come out of the employee's pocket. So he's not going to pay his private jet trip to China, the hotel stay in China, the food that he eats in China, the drinks that he drinks in China, the parties and soirees that he goes to in China that we're going to call conferences, right? And he's not paying for any of that because the business, which is the United States government, will fit the bill. So I thought that that would be a fantastic thing to cover on the show coming soon. Let you guys know, like, hey, if we change the way we spend money, so instead of buying a 64 Cadillac Coupe de Ville sitting on 32s, which has no business resemblance anywhere, right? You could instead say, well, I had to go to Chicago to set up one of the banks over there, and while I was in Chicago I had to meet with a couple of clients and discuss them, because that's what you really did do while you were out there. And this could be maybe when the Cubs are having a game, and then you could meet the client at the game. Now the game is a per diem. The game is going to be reimbursed because you had a business meeting at the baseball game, as long as it was business related, right? I told you guys before, and I know I'm telling you guys on TikTok now. I told you guys before on YouTube, bro, instead of throwing birthday parties for yourself, which is a waste of time and a waste of time for you, because first of all, even if you are a very popular person and all your friends and family love you so much that they take all of the extra money that they got out of their pockets and throws you the biggest uh um birthday party for you, right? You will find yourself in a position where you could literally see yourself um like having the best time of your life, but they're wasting money. You could instead, like I told you guys before, um reserve a venue, invite a bunch of business people, talk business for like half an hour, then celebrate your birthday for the other half an hour, and you will find yourself in a situation where like the whole event is a tax deduction. So instead of all of your friends just wasting money out of their paychecks to throw a big ass birthday party for you, you could all put your money together and have a business meeting with a bunch of even small business owners and network, and then celebrate your birthday with success. And you can ultimately write that expense off of your taxes, which actually could like save your bottom line. Now, since that is something that is going to benefit you, right? It's not celebrating your birthday as a financial loss, right? So when you think about stuff like that, you think, well, I got a birthday coming up. Like my homeboy just had a birthday pass. We didn't do nothing for that, but we should have. Steven says, all my clients will hopefully like chicken wings, pizza, and Pepsi when I get started. Well, you could. You could do that. You could have your clients that, like, if all you want to do is chicken wings, pizza, and Pepsi, you could do. You could also, same thing. You could have an upscale business meeting and just have some chicken wings in there somewhere for yourself. Fact is, it's like you could legitimately order, because the buffet style food for the conference is not limited to a specific type of food. You could have like 40 wings for yourself and then Olive Garden for everybody else. And the fact is that the people in the conference ate food, and all of the food is a tax deduction. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. You don't have to eat at Wingstop or Buffalo Wild Wings or Ruby Tuesdays or something like that in order for it to be a tax deduction. It just has to be a business related event where you ate during the business meeting. That's all it takes. So I thought that it would be fantastic for us to cover that coming soon and discuss like how do we iron out like when is this something that can benefit me versus when is it not? Because if you think, well, I wanted the WWE title, I'm going to buy that. It's a trophy. It's going to stay on the wall. It's going to collect dust. The novelty of it will fade within 6 weeks of owning it because you can't really take it too many places without looking like a dumbass. So let's look at how would you rate that? Well, it's for entertainment. It's not business related. I'm not utilizing it as some sort of customized gift to one of the faculty or staff of the company or to one of the clients. So there isn't a way to write this off. It doesn't turn me a profit. It is ultimately a wasted expense that is, in fact, a true to life liability. Now, let's flip the script and say, well, you want to buy yourself a new car. It doesn't have to be a luxury car, and not all the times does it have to be 6,000 pounds because you can have a Honda Accord. It just has to be primarily used for work. It's easier to have a 6,000 pound Escalade, G Wagon, whatever the case may be. But if you got you a half ton like Mercedes Benz or BMW, you got to deal with those expenses behind those. But you can easily get you an economy car that is registered under the business and used for the business. You have your personal car that you drive to. So this is one of those situations where you don't sell your old car, you keep your old car, you put money down to go buy you a new car. You should buy it instead of financing it. And when you buy the new car, you're going to drive the new car at work for work, and you're going to drive the old car at the house for your personal life. So, say you want to have a discussion. Say like me and like say Steven wanted to do a collab on a podcast, and I was going to meet Steven at his favorite chicken place down the street, right? So I get the company car, I drive to the chicken place, the gas for the car, the insurance, the car, the chicken wings, all of it is a tax write-off because that was all done for a business meeting, right? So we don't consider these things, and then because we don't consider these things, we find ourselves in a position where we are spending money in places that we shouldn't be spending money. Say, for example, the pastor, I think his name Warren Sapp or whatever, the pastor that the 3 private jets, the 52-bedroom mansion, and all this other stuff, the $10,000 worth of Louis Vuitton clothes. He was riding it off through the church because why? Him being a pastor, as an employee of the church, is supposed to be able to benefit from the stuff that happens in the church. He just did it wrong. Instead of him getting $50,000 worth of clothes and keeping 10,000 for himself, where he was handing out $40,000 worth of clothes to other people, where he could show proof that he had gave out a lot of the stuff to a lot of people. Instead, he just got it for himself. The church is supposed to be qualified as a nonprofit, and a nonprofit, you're not supposed to profit from it. So when you give yourself $10,000 worth of stuff, you kind of cross a gray area that you weren't supposed to cross because nobody benefited from what you were trying to accomplish. So what he would have had to do, because true to life, if he needed 1 or 2 outfits for church, that's his uniform, right? And that's why I'm talking about this. If I needed a new uniform for the podcast, I could buy me a new uniform for the podcast, new shirt, new pants, whatever, socks, shoes, everything like that. That's what I wear to the podcast. That's what I wear to work, and as a result, that's a tax write-off, right? So broke-minded people might go and spend thousands of dollars on expensive, lavish stuff to look flashy on social media because they could potentially write it off on their taxes. But again, the problem you have with that is that only so much of it is going to get written off, and then the rest of the problem is that the business has to make enough money to pay for that. So you're not trying to ball out of control on your own profit margin. You're trying to spend money within reason to have the things that you need, so that you don't have to do without. And like, for example, I know that Stephen, you were telling me about how you like those this and that shirts that I was wearing. and I got each one of those for like $12 off of Temu. So I spent like $36 with $3 worth of shipping. So $40 to get them here, to get 3 shirts here. And so those 3 shirts, those custom made shirts, were cheaper than 2 shirts at a Walmart, right? They accomplished the goal of looking professional, representing the brand, and they're durable and they're affordable. That is the financial, and because they're for the job, they are work uniforms and they're tax deductible. So those are things that would be a benefit to the business, because not only am I pitching the brand, just like this gigantic billboard back here, $8. Not only is it pitching the brand, it is also a tax deduction for the business, but it also benefits and advertises the brand, right? So it does multiple things. So it's not just a liability. A liability is if I bought it and never used it. But as I use it, as people see it, as it goes viral, people recognize the logo, people recognize the name on the podcast, and then that is when it solidifies itself as an asset. So, I thought that, yeah, you're right. If I was to touch base on certain topics in the wrong way, I always risk getting got, especially if I'm over there trying to talk on some observations of, hold on, we got a lot of stuff popping up over here on TikTok. You got a lot of stuff popping up over here. These people sending me all kind of stuff. Oh no, I'm good. I ain't trying to do all that. But where was I? Oh, I have to be careful with like how I address each topic, but a lot of the topics that I come up with are typically supposed to be designed to address how you guys make, save, and invest money on these things and how they impact you, whether it's a benefit or not. And that's kind of like what we were talking about yesterday when Jesse was telling me about some of those politicians, and I was asking about their policies. I don't care about people, I care about the money. At the end of the day, if this action is going to hurt me more than it helps me, then I have a concern. If this action is not going to impact me much or not impact me at all, at least not directly, not that I'll notice, then I can disregard it. If it is not going to impact me at all, like let's say a small school gets burned down in the middle of a country that I can't name right now, right? That happened way over there. I'm not going to be there. I don't have anybody over there that I know. It's not going to impact me at all. I'm not the guy that's going to say, "Oh my God, it's so sad that this activity happened." No, no, because what does that matter? On a day-to-day basis, I'm trying to make it, and I'm trying to make it to that millionaire status, that multi-billionaire status. I'm trying to make it to a scenario where my money is making so much money for me that I don't have to do anything, right? That I would have a team of people conquering all of this stuff that I'm trying to conquer on my own here on this podcast, right? And until I cross that threshold, I'm just like, let me let me keep grinding and focusing on where the money is going and where the money is coming from. Now I know that a lot of you guys have seen this. It's probably an email in your inbox, maybe a social media ad, or a link from a friend, all hyping this new official $1 coin it's a dollar Trump coin, right? The ads are making a big promise that they're going to call it a government issued piece of history. It's a valuable gold coin that you need to grab before it's gone. It hasn't been released yet. I'm going to let you guys know, but it's a story that sounds almost too good to be true, right? The United States government putting a living person on a circulating coin, something that hasn't been done in modern times. They actually argued that a living president cannot be on US currency. They were really arguing about the dollar bill at the time, because we covered this before about the $250 bill that they wanted to do, and now they're doing a dollar coin, right? He says, the only coin I saved is bicentennial quarters. Well, if, for those of you that are supporters of Trump, buy a coin with Donald Trump's face on it, and after Donald Trump passes away, you were to sell that coin to another Trump supporter, they would pay more money for it, especially if it is no longer in circulation. They would pay more money for that coin than what you pay for it. The same way the $450 shoes that were being sold for $9,000 on eBay, the same way when TikTok got canceled for 24 hours and people were selling phones for $10,000 just because the app was still on the phone, people will pay for convenience. They will pay for something that's no longer accessible to them, right? So from an investor standpoint, you know, yeah, bicentennial quarters. I've got, I don't know if it's a bicentennial quarter. I think it's like a 1970s coin. I gotta stop and think because I walk around with, ooh, not that one. I walk around with coins in my pocket. Okay, this one is a 1972 um $1 coin. All right, 1972 $1 coin. I'm sure you guys over here on TikTok. 1972 $1 coin. I used to have one from 65, but somebody stole it. So I went and got me another one from 72. I don't see the value in having the coin. It is valued at $1 until a coin collector tells me I'll give you $10 for it. Right? Because I told you guys before that when it comes down to collectibles, that it is only as valuable as what someone else is willing to pay for it if you were to sell it, right? So the fundamental phrase is certain things are priceless. They are priceless because they're worthless and worth a lot at the same time. You can't stick a dollar value on it because it is as much as the most expensive person is willing to pay for it. So if one person's willing to give me $1 for it, another person's willing to give me $1 million for it, it's worth $1 million on paper. But if I can only sell it to the guy that's willing to give me the dollar, it's only worth $1 in actuality, right? So what if that whole story was a house of cards? What if it was built on a foundation of trickery and wordplay? Things that were left unsaid about those coins that were going out because they made it seem like they were giving out gold dollar coins, right? What if the coin isn't really an official coin and not actually gold? Yeah, that's the lick. And for all practical purposes, not even a freaking coin in the way that coins matter to your wallet. Because when we talk about this stuff, we really talk about this stuff as to how it directly impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. And part of making and saving and investing money is having the capabilities of spending money. Could you imagine having 100 of these dollar coins and you can't spend them? Some people are about to lose money by confusing a valuable precious metal with a gold color piece of metal that's worth exactly $1. I'm trying to tell y'all, this was supposed to be a longer story. It looked like it's short, but I'm like, nah, I done did some digging. I done found some stuff on the back end that I'm gonna throw in here. We're gonna talk about this. Because today we're gonna dismantle this story piece by piece. We're gonna expose some of the misleading marketing and reveal the truth about these so-called Trump coins. Not the Dogecoin or the Trump meme coin, the actual like US Mint coins, right? What they're actually made of, who's really selling them, whether they're worth anything more than what their face value is, right? So I want you guys to stick with me because we're going to uncover and change how you look at every single one of these ads that comes out about the new coins that are about to be released. Now, the biggest claim lighting up the internet is that the United States Mint is issuing an official legal tender $1 coin featuring Donald Trump's face on it for the nation's 250th anniversary. Now, while some sources have reported that this is a fact, the reality is grounded in longstanding American laws and traditions. And for over 150 years, the United States has avoided putting living people on its currency. Now, this tradition dates back to the nation's founding when George Washington himself rejected the idea of having his portrait on a coin, viewing it as a practice of monarchy, not a republic. Now, this principle was eventually written into law, and it was an 1866 statute, often called the Tyler Amendment, explicitly prohibiting the likeness of any living president from appearing on U.S. bonds, securities, notes, or postal currencies. Now, while the law didn't specifically mention the word coins, Congress later closed that loop, and the Presidential $1 Coin Act of 2005 created the series honoring past presidents. Was crystal clear that no coin issued may bear the image of a living former or current president. So to be eligible, a president must have been dead for at least 2 years to get on one of those coins. So where does the story of an official Trump coin come from? Well, it's going to appear in a mix of speculative reports and misunderstandings of how the United States Mint works. And I'm glad that I'm on TikTok now because I mean I've seen a lot of these come through TikTok, and there's so many things that TikTok is going to love me. I'm going to be doing some myth busting over there. Uh, they be on TikTok talking about some Trump put a stop to child support and Trump did this and Trump did. No, he didn't. He ain't do none of that. If it wasn't oil related, it probably wasn't him. I'm just gonna tell you, right? We doing a lot of myth busting, right? So while the Treasury Secretary has some authority over coin designs, issuing a coin that goes against a century and a half of established law and traditions would be a highly controversial and unprecedented move. Now, as of today, there are no official confirmed programs uh, from the United States Mint that are producing, circulating those $1 coins featuring a living person yet, but they're still talking about making it happen. And as soon as I find out what date they're going to be released, if and when that does happen, I'm going to be giving you guys an update on that. So this is going to be the absolute close to the heart of the matter here. Understanding the massive difference between a coin made by the United States Mint and a coin made by a private company will protect you from countless misleading offers. So first and foremost, you have to recognize that the United States Mint, it's a part of the Treasury Department of the United States and is the only entity legally allowed to make and issue the nation's legal tender. So when the United States Mint strikes a quarter or a dollar, it is actual money backed by the full faith and credit of the government that is backed by the full faith of the Lord thy God because it is no longer backed by gold. So, but U.S. government, it's legal tender. Now, let's look at the other side of the coin because the world of private mints, companies like the Bradford Exchange American Mint and National Collectors Mint operate in a totally different universe. They make items that look like coins. They're round, metallic, and often stamped with patriotic or political themes. They might even arrive in a fancy box with a certificate of authenticity in it. But here's the crucial difference: these items are not coins, they are metals, tokens, or rounds. They have no face value and are not legal tender. You cannot use a commemorative medallion from a private company to buy anything. Okay. So even though this wasn't the direction I was going with this is actually very good information. So I'm glad it was in there. These companies are masters of marketing, not money. They sell memorabilia, often at a price that has no connection to its actual metal value. On its website, National Collectors Mint states that it is an independent private corporation not affiliated with, endorsed, or licensed by the United States government or the United States Mint. So when you see an ad for a Trump coin, the first question you have to ask is who made it? Is it the United States Mint or a private company tapping into political passions? The vast majority of Trump coins advertised online are from these private mints. They are collectibles, not real currency. Now, this is going to bring us to the most common and deliberate deceptions, the claim of gold. Okay, so let's be perfectly clear. The circulating $1 coin that you see in the United States are not made of real gold. Usually they're not. Okay. So when you hear gold coin, you're likely thinking of something like an American gold eagle, a coin whose value comes from its weight in pure gold, like the gold coins that Donald Trump was holding on his desk when he was doing the TikTok press conference thing, showing the difference between the original gold coin that he got when he was in 2017 and the new one that he's got that looks like it's full gold. Well, actually, Stephen, it's not always fool's gold. Here's the thing. Now, technically, we can call it fool's gold. We have certain metals like rhenium. It's a gold looking metal, solid yellow, right? It is not gold, but it is fully yellow. It does not tarnish. It shapes the way gold and silver shapes. You can make it in the coins, you can make it in the jewelry, and it costs far less. You see rhenium watches, quartz watches. When you go to like jewelry stores and you see the gold watch that's like $50, because that's not gold. If that would have been a gold watch, it'd be $500 because of the weight of the gold, right? At $4,500 an ounce, if your gold watch weighed 1 ounce, the gold watch, even if it was just the bracelet, would cost the watch to be like 5 grand, right? So if you're buying a gold watch from Walmart, Target, Amazon, any backdoor Chinese place, the mall, and it's a $50 watch, $25 watch, $250 watch, and the whole watch is gold. That's not real gold. It's a look-alike. It's not necessarily fool's gold, but it is going to fool you into thinking that it is gold because it's going to be identified as a gold watch. But in the details, they might say gold plated. That's going to be a different material that is not a yellow material that has a gold looking paint sprayed over it. Now, gold paint is also not gold. So you could take a silver watch and then you can spray a rhenium looking yellow metal over it. It won't tarnish, it won't scuff, it won't fade, but it is not gold. And people will buy it. Oh, I got a gold chain. I got a gold chain with diamonds on it, and it's not gold. It's metal, and those aren't diamonds. They're cubic zirconiums, but it looks nice. Is it like those New York Rolexes? You know what? I'm going to tell you something about those New York Rolexes. Well, I'm not going to tell you something about Rolex. I love Rolex, but I'm going to tell you something about watches real quick. You know that wealthy people look down on flashy wealth. So if you walked into a room with a Rolex, wealthy people would not look at you the same way as they would look at you if you walked in there with a Hamilton watch. Think about that for a second. Rolex, $53,000 easy, right? Hamilton watch, $1,500. They would have more respect for you if they saw that Hamilton watch, especially if you're wearing the Hamilton watch that looks like the one from the Men in Black movie. They'd be like, oh, man, you like that movie? I love that movie. They would have more respect for you than what they would if you had a Rolex. Now, if you had a Rolex and you was in the projects, broke people would look at that Rolex and think, wow, he's rich because he could afford to spend $53,000 on a Rolex. But wealthy people would say, wow, he's stupid. He spent $53,000 on a Rolex. Especially if you're wearing a Rolex and you're using your phone to tell time. They only like G-Shocks. Well, I'm not going to limit myself to one specific type of brand, but if you find a stylish G-Shock, I would recommend that you get one that doesn't look athletic, and you want to get one that's more calm and subtle, that kind of blends in with your professional suits. Because if you're going to start upscaling your outfits and stop looking like you're going to the gym and start looking like you're going to an office, you don't want to look like you forgot to take your gym watch off when you put your suit on. So some people like to get the watches with all the gadgets on them and everything like that, and it looks like something that you're trying to run a marathon with. And that watch could stand out so much that the attention is no longer on you; it's on your watch. You want to have something that if they saw it, they'd be like, "Okay, that's nice," but you 100% put that together well, not look at the watch, right? So you don't want the watch to overstate the rest of your outfit, especially if you've got like $400 shoes on and the watch is the only thing they're looking at. It's like, kind of look at my feet. But yeah, I did some research when I looked up your G series, your G Shock, and I was like, oh, those are some pretty expensive watches also. Those are going to be uh G Shocks and Hamilton watches are going to be like what and what as far as class and value, right? They're a couple $1,000s a watch depending on which watch you're getting, maybe less depending on where you get it from, but it's a price point of prestige. So when you're going after one of those, you just have to get one that isn't a gaudy looking watch that like is like flashy and showing off or anything like that. That would make more sense. But when we look at the actual gold that we get with U.S. dollars, the U.S. golden dollars, like the Saskatchewan and presidential series, are a completely different story because these coins get their color from their composition. A pure copper core surrounded by layers of manganese brass. Okay. So it looks gold because it is copper mixed with manganese brass. The overall composition is mostly copper and zinc. The actual raw metal in one of these golden coins is worth about 6 to 10 cents, depending on the market price. I'm going to tell you that one more time. The metals inside this coin is less than a dime. Okay. Now, this is going to be a tactic that private mints use all the time. Their ads for unofficial Trump memorabilia are filled with the phrases like 24 karat gold plated or 24 karat gold layer or coated in 24 karat gold. This sounds impressive, but the amount of gold used in plating is microscopic, often just a few cents worth. It adds shine, but meaningful value. A copper token sold for $20 doesn't become an investment just because it has a tiny layer of gold on it. Okay. They're selling you the idea of gold, not the gold substance itself. The US Mint doesn't use deceptive language for circulating their coins. Simply calling them golden dollars for their color is not something that the US Mint does. But in the frenzy of online ads and social medias, the distinction is often deliberately blurred. Now, people are going to see the Trump gold coin, and their imagination is going to fill with the rest of the information that they think is supposed to be going on. But what they are actually being sold is usually a privately made token with almost no precious metal value at all. Right now, the ones that are being handed out by the U.S. Mint, uh, there. Well, first of all, we have a proud patriots gold presidential Trump coin that is marketed online right now. That's about $24.95. Um, zinc and alloy and brass on the market, running around $16 to $25. Like I said, only worth like 16 cents. The bronze metal style prices, where a United States Mint development, which is not gold, not a billion coin, has been listed in sizes that were smaller versions around $20 to $45, and larger 3-inch pieces can go well over $100. Uh, you have a lot of these tokens that are going for roughly around $20 a coin. But I did do some research the other day when I was here. We are. Oh no, this is about his income tax. Hold on, that's a whole nother show. Let me go back because I have been digging and digging and digging. Um, where is the other one? It is not there. Oh, so I can go over here because I archive all of my information. And I want to make sure that when I talk to you guys, that I have all of my ducks in a row so that you guys are always getting the most updated information on everything that we discuss. Because one of the things that I was supposed to be trying to cover for you guys was explaining to you guys the difference between what they're selling them for, because it is coming soon that they're supposed to be allegedly um, selling a lot of these gold coins, right? And the United States Mint is supposed to be selling a lot of these gold coins. They're supposed to be selling two different kinds, and people can go and get them. But there's one that's supposed to be sent to collectors, and the other one that is supposed to be released for like the $1 coin circulations. So give me a moment here. Let me double check where, because I it was what, a couple days ago, because that's silver, gold, and uranium prices. Uh, and it was talking about Donald Trump trying to change. They were taking his name off of a building, so I was looking at that. This is over the last week, bro. I have got hundreds of shows that I have been going through. Matter of fact, let's just go up a new section, and we're gonna cover this because I want to make sure that you guys have the other information that I apparently wasn't in this particular segment here. Let's see. So there's going to be one that's going to have Donald Trump's portrait. It's going to say Liberty on it. It's going to be dated from 1776 to 2026, and it's going to have "In God We Trust" on one side, and then on the back side, it's going to have the bald eagle from the Great Seal in the United States of America, and E pluribus unimas. I don't know what that means. Um, there are so we have the only gold and silver medallions officially licensed and personally approved by President Donald Trump are marked as 99.99% fine gold or silver medallions or 24 karat gold plated editions minted in the United States. So what we're looking at is how much it is. Oh, I did that wrong. We're going to look at how much is the mint selling the gold coin and the gold plated coin. And when will it be? When is the release date? Because that's one of the things that I had in the script when I created this, but then I kind of lost it somewhere over the last 4 days. Now, the $1 coin from the United States Mint has only been in an announcement so far, but they're supposed to be issuing it in the fall of 2026 and entering circulation. They have not published a specific sale price for them yet. But for Trump branded gold plated coins sold by private companies, those people are already issuing it at or under $10 per coin, and the others are around $25 to $40 per coin, and some sets are $100 to $500 per coin. The Treasury Mint says that the new $1 Trump coin, the gold colored commemorative coin, will be available supposedly this fall, and fall starts in August, but likely September. And it is expected to enter circulation later this year. For collectors' products, you're looking at the sets before sale opens, current reporting indicating details regarding the availability, pricing, and remaining unclear as to the amounts. So you have a 24 karat gold plated Donald Trump coin that's being sold by collectors that is marked as gold plated only, not solid gold, roughly 1 ounce in weight, priced under $10 per ounce, where it has about 6 cents in it. There's a 24 karat gold plated Trump proof coin series in a $39.99 per issue plus shipping and handling, also not real gold. And Putting America First, 24 karat gold coated set of 12 coins listed at regular price around $499 to $599, with the sale price in the $99 range for the full set. Also not real gold. Look, I'm going through the list, y'all. The official mint coin is supposed to be um, worth at least $1 in use of circulation once it goes out. Is the mint selling the 24 karat gold one? That's the one we need to be looking at, because that's what I saw the other day. And then there was a price difference that I was looking at, because the United States Mint is currently not involved in a 24 karat gold Trump coin to the public. So the only ones that you're going to have is going to be slated for release is gold colored, and that's so it's not even going to be a dollar's worth of gold in the $1 US coin. So you guys got to pay attention to that. The mint is paying a decent quantity of money for these. So for those $1 gold color commemorative coins, the mint is not specifically releasing exactly how much they're paying per coin to produce them, but based on how similar gold dollar coins are made, general mint data can kind of help with estimating the metal, the manufacturing cost per coin, and you'll find that it's going to be less than $1, meaning that the government earns uh, seniorage on each piece. So you're looking at like a $1 coin that is used with, like I said, the manganese brass clad construction, with Saskatchewan Native American gold dollars, copper core with manganese brass outer layer, about 8.1 grams of total weight. The mint regularly reported circulating coin denominations cents, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars, because they got rid of pennies, and they're not telling you the line by line, but we have around what somebody's already reporting that they're going to be proposing a 24,000 or 24 karat Trump coin retailed at 3,500 to $4,000 range per coin as a pneumatic premium. No shit. the these are the things that we see our government doing with the profits, or not I'm going to call them profits because they get the tax dollars and then they start doing what they're going to do with them. And it's because they're getting money in, they don't have to, then they push money out, or they push products out, because that's what they're doing when they're printing money. They're pushing products out. But you'll see here, uh, here we go. Some estimates are 20 to 30 cents in seniorage per coin. So it's going to be about 20 to 30 million dollars in profits to the Treasury if they end up issuing around 100 million coins. That's what I was trying to get to the bottom of. So it's going to cost them less than a dollar to produce, and they're going to gain the other, I guess, 70% or so, or 70 cents or so on a dollar difference for every dollar coin that is exchanged. Because when we say that they're going to sell them, the United States Mint, unlike like private entities and stuff, the United States Mint is going to release the $1 coin for $1. If it costs them roughly 20 to 30 cents to make it, they're going to send it to the bank. The bank is going to give it to you in exchange for a $1 bill that you have, right? That ultimately means that they sold it to you in theory for $1. If it costs them 20 or 30 cents to make it, they're going to make 70 or 80 cents per coin profit each time they exchange that coin for your $1 bill. That's what I was looking at. Recent annual reports show that the seniorage per dollar issued is ranging as low as 18% or 18 cents on the dollar. So they could likely make like 82 cents off of each gold coin that they hand out to the American public. That's wild. So if the Trump dollar is produced in quantities comparable to the major commemorative quarter programs, you're easily in the tens of millions of dollars of cumulative seniorage. GAO used a similar method to estimate about $224.7 million in seniorage for a large quarter program that was issued out in 1990. I don't remember the coin that was being given back then, but they made a decent quantity of money off of that one. For commemorative numismatic coins, generally like silver, gold, clad, GAO found that from 1982 to 1995, the mint earned $114.6 million in profits on commemorative coins, with an average of about $15 million per program, $15.8 million per program early on, and closer to 3.3 million per program in later years as weaker programs dragged averages down. Now, because the Trump coin program is newer and politically unusual, we don't actually know the mintage or price yet, but structurally, circulating that $1 coin, likely tens of millions of dollars in seniorage over the life of the program, collecting commemorative Trump offerings is probably going to be millions of dollars of net profits if they sell well, but that could be smaller if demand is weak. Now, we recognize when we look at anything that's going to be released in moderation, there's going to be a higher demand than the supply. one person might want 1,000 coins. If you assume that 100,000 people want 1,000 coins, that's like did it to me again. That's like what, $10 million, right? So that's not 1% of the population. That is like everything that they had in the first release. But the demand will still be high, right? But we just said that if they ran through 10 million coins, they make a few $100 million off of those coins. Recognizing that off of 1,000 Trump shoes, they were selling at like $9,000 a shoe. If somebody would have bought all 1,000 shoes and sold them on eBay for $9,000 a shoe, that person would have made $900,000 off of 1,000 shoes. Now, recognizing the resale value of these coins is going to be substantial, but the United States is not going to profit off of that. So when we're talking about like how much is the United States government going to make off of creating and distributing this commemorative coin versus how much can a collector make off of redistributing the exact same coin, those are two different discussions. Now, one of the things we wanted to talk about today was, should you get it? Well, understandably, you're buying a commemorative coin. If it is released by the United States Mint, it will be worth the $1 that you gave them for the coin. If you hold on to it until after Donald Trump dies and you try to resell it to somebody, it will be potentially worth more because you'll be reselling it to not the United States government. However, because it only cost them like 20 cents to make it, you are basically purchasing this $1 coin for an 82-cent premium. Your dollar for dollar value with the United States government is still secured if you're using this coin for transactions. So yes, you can take the $1 coin, go to Walmart and buy you some diapers with like 20 Trump faces. Pretty simple. The only concern that I'm going to have is since you're buying the currency and they're going to turn a profit off of it, and it is not real gold. It's inconvenience, because we've talked about this before when we talked about the $1 trillion coin that the Mint was going to press in order to offset the I think I've seen somebody trying to jump in. And hey, if somebody was trying to jump in on TikTok side, go ahead and try that again because I missed it. I seen something go off the screen and I was like, what was that? But if they printed out the coin, like a $1 trillion coin, they would only have to print like 35 of them, and then they could eliminate the debt. But if they did that, we were having a discussion of whether or not that would cause a plethora of inflation here, or at least increase the value of the United States dollar in other countries. But when we think about practicality, because we talked about this with a $250 bill from Donald Trump, is that it isn't readily used like that. We don't go anywhere with like $40 in coins in our pocket, meaning 40 coins. We usually have two 20s. We typically don't go places, especially when we're trying to get on planes and get past metal detectors and all this other stuff. We don't go anywhere with a Corona bag full of dollar coins. Then when you have to think about a dollar coin is not going to work in a vending machine. The dollar coins are not going to work with an automated system that isn't programmed to recognize those dollar coins. So you would have to use that dollar coin in an in-person transaction. Now, it is a novelty transaction because let's say that you're, at K&G's or something like that, and you're trying to buy, or Saxton's or something like that, you're trying to buy something, and you go to the register and you want to show off the fact that you had possession of some Donald Trump coins. Well, whatever the price is, you would be throwing up a few Trump coins on the counter so that they can, oh, cool, you got one. In the moment, kind of, I'm, peacocking because I put Trump coins on the table.
But you got to recognize, just like when you see with those other videos that go viral where the guy got a traffic ticket and he's trying to pay with pennies, and the establishment is refusing to accept it if it's not rolled. After a certain number of dollar coins, they're going to want you to put it in rolls. And you may even see like the banks issuing them in rolls. You may see $50 rolls where you have like 50 quarters in a $50 roll being released from the bank, where you got to give the bank $50 in order to get yourself one coin, because you got to get the whole roll. And even in that dynamic, you know, as soon as you break open that roll, like, where are you going to spend 50 coins? You know, and then get change back on it. So it's a situation where if you get them, you might get them, you might hold them, and then wait for the value to be established where somebody bought it and resold it while the coins are still in circulation, and you see what the value of it could be. Then you look at, if you buy and hold it until the program stops releasing coins, because that's when the value truly goes up. And that's the other thing that we were going to talk about. So they released a coin for the 250th anniversary, but say 10 years from now, when the coin is no longer circulating after Donald Trump has passed away, assuming that he passes away in 10 years, because he's almost 90, and in 10 years he'd be almost 100. If he passed away in 10 years down the line, you still have that coin, or like a few rolls of that coin, if you wanted to put that coin up for sale at that point, because Trump supporters could no longer gain access to it. If they miss the trend and they want some, they may buy the one coin from you for $40, $50 for the one actual Trump coin that was given to you from the United States Mint, right? But these are not going to be coins that's going to have the United States Mint insignia on it, like certificate of authenticity. This is just going to be a freaking coin. It's going to be a regular coin, just like the dollar coin that I showed you guys on the show. It's just going to be a regular coin that does commemorate a moment in history that did occur. But you know, one of the things I was thinking about is we don't have a Barack Obama coin, but we should. But they said that it can't be for any living president. So since likely Trump will pass before Barack Obama, because I think Barack Obama is far younger than Donald Trump, we would see a Donald Trump coin go into circulation before we see a Barack Obama coin go into circulation. But we would likely see a Barack Obama coin go into circulation about 15 years from now. Right? I don't know what I don't know what value of currency, because I don't recall them changing the people on the bills when new bills are released. I can't say that they haven't done it before, but I don't recall them ever changing currencies when new bills are released. I just know that as it stands right now, the quarters are the ones that they could put anything on it. They had, remember the collection of all 50 states, they had different states on one side, different people on the other side, all across. So all of them were a quarter, but each one of them had something different on it, right? But that was a collector set. So it's something that you guys need to think about, because like I said, it hasn't happened yet. The Mint has not released them yet. So if you're looking at people advertising right now, those are going to be collectors. Those are private entities that created the coin, and they're releasing the coin under the publicity that the United States Mint might make one soon. And then they are doing it under the observation that if you buy it from them for $20, $30, $40, $50 for the coin, that they're going to give you all of this paperwork that shows you that it's legit from them. But it is not an American coin. It's like I said, I always use this example of buying one of those WWE replicas. And the reason why is because anybody that is a fan of it would buy one, right? If they had the money for it and they found the value in it, they would buy one, right? It is not the real deal. It is not sold by the WWE or the WWF or TKO. It is sold by a third-party manufacturer that creates them to look like the real deal, right? And you'll pay as much, if not more, than what they paid to create the original, right? And then you'll have one that looks like the ones that they use on a TV show, but it is not the same, right? If you found the true manufacturer that creates them for those people, you would likely pay way more money than what you're paying to get it. Right now, the wild part is that the coins are going to be in the reverse, because the United States Mint is going to put out a dollar coin for $1. It costs them 20 cents to put it out. They're going to make 80-cent profit off of putting it out. You're going to buy a 20-cent coin for $1 and be able to give it to anybody else for $1. But if you were to see somebody selling that $1, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care who's on the coin. You are not going to get me to pay $50 for a coin that is valued at less than $50. Not doing it. But if you got the dollar coin, the worst that you can do with that dollar coin, the one that you get from the US Treasury, is it's going to be worth $1. So you don't take a financial loss. But if you sold that $1 coin to somebody else for like $10, $15, $20, you can make a decent quantity of money off of it. So it is an investment opportunity. It's just careless investing. You got to be careful with it. He said we need a coin with Jimi Hendrix on it. Well, if that's the case, we need a coin with like The Rock on there. We need a coin with like, look, Kane. We just talked about how Kane is getting rid of flock cameras. We need just for that, we need to put the big red machine on some commemorative coins, because he's saving us from an apocalypse of financial catastrophes where they're tracking us with these flock cameras, you know. But there's so many different people that could have been on a commemorative coin. It's just that, you know, because they could put me on a commemorative coin. It's just that when you're looking at the value versus the benefit, because the value is going to be how much is it worth versus how much you can make off of it. The benefit is what can you do with it when you're not trying to sell it for money, right? The value of buying a property to sell it for a profit is how much you can make off the profit how much profit you can make off the property when you sell it. But the benefit of buying a property is what can you do with it? Live in it, rent it out, use it as leverage to finance something more expensive. You know, that's the kind of stuff that you got to think about when you start looking into, am I going to acquire this particular item, or am I not? He said last month, them cameras popped up all over the interstate I drive daily. I told you, I said, bro, they out there and they're using those flock cameras to issue citations. If you go from one flock camera to another too quickly, they're going to assume that for you to go from one distance to the next, that you had to be speeding, and they're going to start using that to issue citations, because it's public, it's captured in the public by a private company that sells that data to other companies. So they can ultimately work it out where they release the traffic data, how far your license plate went and how long it took for your license plate to get there, release that information to the police, and then the police do calculations and issue a citation and say, oh yeah, you were speeding because you crossed a 3-hour drive in 2 hours. You had to be doubling the speed limit. And they're going to be issued citations for it. And the average individual who knows that they were doing it, me too. You say you still speed, me too. I can't remember the last time my vehicle was less than 80 miles an hour. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. If I see a speed sign and I see a vehicle on the side of the road, I'm recognizing I should probably slow down. But at the end of the day, on average, when I'm on the interstate, man, I'm at least, because in Florida, it's like 75, so I'm doing 80, 85. But in other states, it might be 65, and I got to catch myself, because if I don't catch myself, I'll still be doing it. I'll be driving Florida speeds all over the country if I don't stop and pay attention to what's going on. So, you know, it's true to life. You know, there's so many other people that could be on those commemorative coins, but yeah, we got to pay attention to the value versus the benefit, right? But it's not something that a lot of people are gonna pay attention to, because once they get released, and I strongly believe that they're going to get released like the first or second week of September, because they say fall and the seasons have changed. We are currently experiencing summer heat in August, right? And summer heat started in late June, early July, and we're likely going to continue to experience that summer heat until mid-September, right? Now, I'm not a geologist. I'm not a weather forecaster. You're not going to see me on Bay News 9 telling you what the weather's going to look like. But I am going to tell you, geographically speaking, the 90-degree temperatures that we're experiencing right now in August used to be, a few years ago, the 90+ degree temperatures that we experienced in late June, early July. We also used to experience a lot more hurricanes to dim down a lot of the heat, where a tropical storm passed through and rained and dropped the temperature for a few weeks, so we would not have all of this extreme heat. We have not experienced a spring this year. How much rain? I think 4 or 5 times this year that it actually rained where I am. Bro, chill out. 4 or 5 times that it actually rained where I am. It is not the same. Then we think about how we most of the states in the South don't see snow. The states up north see snow, but when you're seeing snow, you're not seeing snow in wintertime, November, December, January. It used to be October, November, December, but November, December, January. Now we're seeing snow February and March. So when they say late fall, fall is 3 months, August, September, October, on paper. But geologically, fall is October, November, December. So I'm going to say mid to late September is when these coins are going to get released, unless they have a hiccup in the system that will cause them to release those coins early October, like the first 10 days of October, October 10th. So between September 15th and October 10th, that's what I'm thinking is the release. It's still going to come out before GTA 6. I mean, hell, I might have kids graduate college before GTA 6 come out, but it's the principle of the fact that, if you are a person that is a true to life supporter of what's going on right now, and you want to get one of those 250th commemorative coins, because I've just seen in my local neighborhoods people walking around with the 250th commemorative shirt. It says 250 years of America in like red and blue on a backdrop of a white shirt. And I'm like, that's corny. But people who want to run that race might want to go and grab some commemorative coins. And I'm letting you guys know right now, that is the worst decision to make if you're getting it from a private developer of the coin, because again, it is not a 24 karat gold coin. The true to life 24 karat gold coin that could be sold by the ounce from the United States Mint would go from between $2,000 and $5,000 per coin for a 1 ounce coin. If it was truly going to be released based on whatever gold prices were at the time, they would release it, because they're going to sell it to you for more than what you're going to get from them for it. That's how capitalism works. So we're looking at gold prices at like $4,000 right now. You would see a 24 karat, true 24 karat gold coin being released by the United States Mint. If it were to happen, you would see it being priced at $4,500 or $5,000 right now, because the gold price per ounce is like $4,000, $4,250 right now. Now, down the line, if gold starts fluctuating, it might get closer to $3,000 or $2,500 for the person selling it, but they're going to sell it for more than what gold is worth now, because they're going to turn profit off of it. Now, if you hold on to that 24 karat gold coin, that full 24 karat gold, pure gold coin, until gold is like $10,000 an ounce, then you can flip that gold coin for $5,000 profit. But like we discussed before, when we were talking about holding those 1 ounce gold billiards in your safes and stuff to that effect, having the gold, having it backed by gold makes sense to a degree. Because if you're trying to do a financial transaction, you want to leverage the gold standard. They front you some money. Worst case scenario, they get your gold. That is like good business in some scenarios. However, for people who are collecting currency, to say that when the world ends, apocalypse occurs, all this other stuff, that gold still holds its value, we could still do transactions, blah, 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 blah. Bro, you are not taking a 1 or 2 pound brick of gold and shaving shavings off and sprinkling it on somebody's counter, talking about, here, that should cover the Sprite I just bought. You know what I mean? You've got a gold bar. They want the gold bar for the Sprite. The Sprite went from being $3 to $30,000 because whatever the price of gold is at the time, that's how much that drink is going to cost, because they're going to exchange you one item for one item, not the monetary value of this item for a truckload of items over here. That's not how things work, especially when you're talking about desperate times, because you got to pay for the convenience that they have it, right? So if you have like 1 ounce billiards, 1 ounce coins, or half ounce coins, or quarter ounce coins, where a small portion of the coin is gold, and you know how much of each one of those coins is gold, and you're able to use that gold coin as a transaction when United States currency is not feasible, that is when you can say, well, I can give you 1 coin for this car, or because the coin will probably be worth like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, the car like $4,000 or $5,000, I get you 2 coins for the car. You can do that with billions if you have little like portioned out pieces of gold. But big bricks, like you be thinking like what you see in the movies with the, first of all, that stuff's heavy. You're not transporting stuff. But second of all, like how do you do commerce with it? It's impractical unless you're doing large scale transactions where by the ounce or by the pound, you can put a number of bricks into a duffel bag and put it on a dolly and roll it to the transaction and pay the invoice. That's when it makes sense. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. It's an impractical scenario, which is one of the reasons why I tell you guys on a regular basis, when you're trying to start up your investment opportunities, you want to start up by building revolving capital, by investing in something that's going to produce a profit. For example, real estate is one way to do it. A brokerage account that pays dividends is another way to do it, which is why we have multiple portfolios pre-constructed in the membership on a YouTube channel so that you can see those billiards in action. Then we also have other ways like taking the dividends and investing in real estate, or taking the real estate and getting cash loans, or leveraging your portfolio for cash loans so that you can do transactions, pay yourself, all of these other things. This is all stuff that happens where you're generating capital in places where you can quit working and live off of the profits before you start elevating yourself to what I would say is stage 2, stage 3, like pro status, where you start buying physical objects that have monetary value, like gold, silver, platinum, uranium, which we've been tracking, and we're putting updates at least once a week into the membership so that you guys can keep track of as well. We put in so much stuff that, oh yeah, that's right, I got something I gotta do in a minute. We put in so much stuff that we forget to recognize that you can't start from the top down. Because if you start from the top down and you start buying gold, you start buying silver, you start buying these gold commemorative coins, you start buying all of these physical items that doesn't turn you a profit for a person that's living from check to check. It doesn't matter if you're $50,000 a year or $350,000 a year. If you're living from check to check, if your standard of living is 95 or 98% of your income, and you're buying all of this stuff, these physical items that do not have a profit written into them right now while you're buying them, you're not going to be able to hold them long enough to turn a profit. And just like when the stock market is down, you have a financial catastrophe that exceeds your financial budget, and now you got to sell all of this stuff for less than what you paid for it in order for you to turn a profit. And even if you buy, even if you buy these commemorative coins from the bank for $1 per coin, where you technically didn't lose any money on the item, the whole time that you have on the item is lost opportunity, because your money could have been somewhere else. We just had like 21 different stocks over the last 7 days that just had an next dividend date. So over the next 7 days, we're going to be experiencing dividend returns Special shout out to Stephen. We're going to be experiencing dividend returns. We're going to be getting emails every day. Congratulations, you got paid. At least multiple emails in a day, several times a week. Congratulations, you got paid. Because we're putting money in places where money is making money for us. If we had a financial concern, we would likely deposit our dividends into our bank account to cover that financial concern instead of selling the profits, selling the principal off of the stocks and trying to use the principals off of the stocks to cover the financial problem, right? Because when you have revolving capital coming in, instead of you allowing yourself to be financially stuck, you can say, well, I don't have enough money coming through this month. Let me drop that over here instead of putting it back up there. That's something that not too many people think about. And ultimately, it puts you in a position where you're able to rebalance your life because you have accessibility to capital. Now, I understand that managing a real estate business is going to be hard because even if it's just one property, the smooth sailing is if you have a real estate business established to the magnitude where you have a website established to the magnitude of you have a payment option on the website so that you can keep track of your tenants making payments where you don't got to go knock on the doors, go and get your money. That is going to be less difficult, but you still have to make sure that the properties are up to code. You have to make sure that the buildings are being repaired, all of these other things. It's a lot of maintenance. And if you pay a third party to do this for you, you got to give them a percentage of your profits, which means that the property has to turn over enough rent in order for the property manager to make enough money to give you something on the back end so that you actually have a profit, right? Special shout out to Jojack. Jojack says, I like to buy silver eagles, but I like collecting coins. Well, if you're buying silver eagles for the per ounce, like if it's a pure, like 99% eagle, silver eagle coin, at least you're buying silver. That is less deceitful than people who are buying gold-plated, overpriced gold-plated coins, because the gold-plated coins are perceived to be gold-looking. But again, if gold is $4,500 an ounce and are selling it to you for $45, there's probably like 2 grams of gold in that whole coin, right? It's not a full gold coin. He said, oh yeah, they're 1 troy ounce. That's it. If you're buying 1 troy ounce of silver, which right now is going for like $65 an ounce, if you're buying 1 troy ounce of silver, they might be selling you those silver eagles. If they are 99% pure silver, they're probably selling you those silver eagles for like $75 with shipping, so that they can try to make $5 off of it after they ship you the coin, right? But you're still buying pure silver. In that dynamic, you would make a ton of profit off of that over time, because one, you can flip that coin down the line when silver is worth $4,000, and two, you can hold it for in case of emergency. You can leverage it, because if you've got pure silver coins, you can leverage that asset, that physical asset, especially if you've got a certificate of authenticity. You can leverage that asset with somebody who can front you some cash. Yeah, they're going to charge you a ton of money, but you can leverage it with somebody who can front you a ton of cash, where you can go and make a transaction happen where the loan is backed by your assets instead of backed by your credit score and backed by your income, right? Because if they don't give a squat how much money you make and whether or not your credit is good, all they know is that if you don't pay them back, they're going to keep all those coins that they have in their pocket. That makes a lot of sense. Trader said, who is going to buy $10,000 coins that are not real gold? Americans. You asked the wrong question on this podcast. Americans will buy a $10,000 coin that's not real gold. Americans will. Those gold shoes, they look like yellow aluminum foil. Those Trump shoes that was going around during the campaign in 2024, those Trump shoes. Somebody paid $9,000 for a pair of shoes that were basically Converse with a Confederate flag on them, wrapped in yellow aluminum foil. That's what they look like, right? And somebody paid $9,000 for it just to get some Confederate flag shoes. And from what I understand, Walmart was selling them for like $450 a shoe. Walmart, the place that sells the shoes for like $35, was selling Donald Trump shoes for $450. You already knew that we were all we were on the wrong spot when Walmart got shoes more expensive than Jordans. Joe Jack says, I plan on giving them to my children. You have kids, Joe Jack. You need to teach your children financial responsibility. Before you pass away, you need to teach them as much as you can learn from this podcast and as much as you can learn from your own research about investing, about the value of gold and silver, about the value of, like we were just talking about, the true to life value of commemorative coins versus the fictitious advertisements that they provide. You should be able to, it doesn't matter if it's just one or if it's 30, Joe Jack. You need to teach them before you give this kid. You've got 1 troy ounce of gold right now that's like $65 right now, but in like 10 years, that might be $200 coin. If you've got 100 of them, that might be, $20,000 worth of coins. He needs to know the value of the assets that you're holding. He needs to know the value of investing. He needs to know the value of leveraging. He needs to know the value of utilizing debt to make income, not income to pay debt, because otherwise you'll be leaving him a bag full of coins that he can flip like Pong and lose it like a game of marbles. You ever played jacks for money? Throw the ball up and your cash is gone. If he doesn't know what to do with it, the honor that men have with building a legacy by creating kids and then teach them how to be self-sufficient falls short if we don't teach them how to be financially responsible. And being financially responsible isn't going to work to make your own money. Being financially responsible is creating a system where the money that you have makes money for you so that you don't have to do anything other than think of other ways to make more money. Right? That is what we need to be teaching our kids. And then if you leave them something, some kind of nest egg, some type of safety net, what you're leaving them is a catalyst towards future success. Donald Trump was born into a $5 million inheritance. He's a $4.5 billion man. He had a $1, $2, $5, $6 million bankruptcy. He's went bankrupt 6 times in his from 5 billion to 4 billion. Right? He's went bankrupt 6 times. But each time, one of those catastrophic losses, which is what we're going to be talking about down the line when we start covering those tax situations, those catastrophic losses for him were tax deductions, year over year tax deductions, which could prevent him from having to pay taxes on other profits that he made somewhere else. We've got to teach our kids how to do that. We got to teach our kids how to roll over debt as a profit. We've got to teach kids how to leverage loans for profit. We're not borrowing a loan to pay off a debt. We're borrowing a loan to make a profit. That's why I tell Stephen, because he starts college in like a week or two. And I keep telling Stephen, bro, go talk to your financial aid office. Look at those interest rates. If they're offering you 4% and 7% interest rates, and you got a brokerage account that's giving you 15% return on investment, borrow against the student loans for cash you don't need, put it into a brokerage account and flip that stuff. Because you could take $10,000 a semester where you only owe them like, what, $40 a year, $400 a year for 3 or 4 years, and put it into a brokerage account that's going to give you back $1,500 a year. That makes way more sense, because after you pay them back the principal plus interest, you're still turning a profit like $750 a year worth of profit on the principal. But if you keep the profit and just pay what they ask for towards the loan, you can pay down the student loan, keep the principal, and keep the difference. And that's stuff that people don't teach their kids. If you teach kids, you teach them how to leverage debt as a profit, and then they will never be struggling. Because most parents, teach their children to go to work, to make money, to pay debt. So now every extra dollar you get is going to get used to pay for more debt. But if you teach them how to leverage debt, instead of them paying debt to stay broke, they would be using debt to get rich. He said, I just got her to start a 401k for work. She's 20 and lives on her own. She knows a little about money. Yeah, but she don't know enough. Because you and I found some shit out when we were in our late 40s, early 50s. So because I'll get her to open a stash account, $20 a week to start with. That's fantastic. If you want, I don't know, you haven't gone into the membership yet, but if you want, I can send you a link to it where she can get $30 off of signing up, and that gives you an extra $30 towards your investment opportunities. Because I know you talked to me about that once before. FX Trader says if he had properly structured his business, and if he were not personally liable, the bankruptcies wouldn't hurt him. Well, I don't know if he defaulted on himself or if he defaulted on his business, but I do know that the loss of money in the ability to go bankrupt is considered a debt. And any success that he makes after that is going to be offset by the debt, which is partially considered a tax blanket, because he would be able to say, well, you know, I lost $1 million last year in a transaction, a business transaction. So out of the $2 million worth of debt that I have to pay the IRS, $1 million of it is written off. Hello. Trying to run off with my cell phone and stuff. So that's some of the stuff that people don't think about. Like, for example, I told you guys before, I had ran like $250,000 worth of profits and bought two vehicles in the same year, two 2020 Dodge Ram 1500s, and it was $95,000 worth of vehicles that I only put like 20 grand towards, but I got like 70 grand worth of tax deductions on it because I have got full depreciated value towards the business's taxable income, which ultimately had us not pay for the $250,000 worth of money that was made that year, because debt offsets the tax bill. So it's not going to hurt him because the money that he lost is offset by all the money that he gains, and the money that he lost prevents him from having to owe taxation on the money that he gains. And that's something that we have to think about. He says, I don't think the bankruptcies hurt him that much. No, because if he did it the way I think he did it, when he did go into bankruptcy, it was bankruptcy for the business. And there is this thing that I've observed that he kind of uses his name as a business, but he also has like a bunch of like different businesses going around that you can have your doing business as name, something different from the actual business itself, and potentially have like Trump Industries as a doing business as name when the actual business is, you know, Donald Drumpf, which is what his real name is, DRUMPH, Incorporated, right? But he could do doing business as and change the name to something else. The tax identification number is what matters. All the money that came up underneath this tax identification number goes to the IRS, and then the IRS is like, oh, well, he spent a bunch of money, he lost a bunch of money, liquidatable assets, right? And when it comes down to his personal income as an investor, if he invested in a business and he lost millions of dollars on that investment because that business went under, if he profited from another business and that business put out a bunch of money that he's supposed to be taxed on, that loss, while the bankruptcy didn't hurt him because the business went bankrupt, the loss of his investment, if he had $1 million investment in that business, the loss of that investment can still be written off on taxation on something else that he turned a profit on. He's got smart accountants. He does. But it's not just the accountants. The accountants manage the money that comes in. He actually communicates with people that have transactions and ideas that money can be made, and he just bets on the right horse, and those deals go positive, and he makes a bunch of money on the back end. Like, for example, Donald Trump invested in Miss America before it was popular. Donald Trump invested in the WWE when it was a WWF. He invested in things when it was almost nothing. And now it's a big thing, and it is worth billions of dollars. He sees potential, and he puts his money towards the potential. More often than not, he's successful. That's why he's a billionaire. Same thing with Elon Musk. He sees potential in something, and he puts his money towards potential. And then after that potential turns successful, he's able to profit off of that, right? And that's something that we don't think about, because we don't put our money towards potential. We put our money towards commodities. The more often than not, we either rob Peter to pay Paul to pay our bills, or we buy entertainment for ourselves to make ourselves feel better about the fact that we have to rob Peter to pay Paul to pay bills. We very rarely look at the commodities and think, oh, I can make a profit off of this. What we think is that will make me happy, or that will make me look good, or that will help me impress these people over here. And that's how we make our spending decisions. But as I said at the beginning of the show, if we look at how do I turn a profit off of this purchase, whether I turn a profit off of resale, whether I turn a profit off of usage, or I turn a profit off of tax deductions, how do I turn a profit off of this purchase? And if I can't turn a profit off of this purchase, I can't afford to waste my money on this purchase, because this purchase doesn't benefit me. If we had that mentality, then we would stop buying things that are not necessary, which would turn down inflation, because inflation is from high demand for a low supply. And if we start looking at the prices and saying it's not worth that, and I'm not going to buy it, I'm going to go buy something else, guess what happens? Everything starts going down in price. Because when we think about right now, there's a Donald Trump phone that's like $45 a month, and the phone. We got cell phones that are almost $2,000 for the cell phone, $100 a month. Anybody who thinks that whatever plan that they have costs way too much money, switch from that to the $45 a month plan, guess what would happen with all the major phone companies? They would drop their prices or offer more services. But Donald Trump's plan is the only one that has a concierge doctor included into the phone bill. So you don't got to pay extra money to talk to a therapist. You just got to call one up from your phone. Right? Now, the overall, even when you got like bundles and everything like that, you're still paying a lot of money. Like, I got a phone bill right now. It's like $250 for 5 phones. Yeah, $250 for 5 phones. So when you stretch that, it's $50 a phone. It's not $70 a month, but it's still $50 a phone. The catalyst is that you're still paying more. They're just offering you more. Now, because of the plan that I'm in, I'm almost at the exact same dollar for dollar price as Donald Trump's plan. But the principle is that I still don't have the free concierge doctor on my plan. Twitter says, I think part of the restructuring after bankruptcy, he agreed to limit his monthly expenses to a certain number of dollars. There's a strong possibility that he did restructure, because when he first started doing things, he was not making the type of decisions that he's making now. You got to understand, he's been doing this for what, 20, 30 years now? You know? So when we think about that, we recognize that he's been doing this long enough to make better decisions down the line, restructure things, spend less money. But in order for him to learn from his mistakes and spend less money to make more money, he would have to readdress how he looks at money. And that's why I was telling Joe Jack to do the same thing. Steven says, I pay less. He says, I pay $650 a year for unlimited phone and Wi-Fi. I'm on my friend's T-Mobile business plan. Well, you pay $650 a year. My homeboy's got he's on my T-Mobile business plan. He gets free service so he can work for me. But $650 a year, that's still $65. That's a little under $65 a month, because that'd be like probably like $60 a month, roughly. I want to say somewhere, doing calculations, somewhere between $55 and $60 a month, because $650 divided by 10 is 65. And if you shave off another 2 months, yeah, so somewhere between $55 and $60 a month, which is like $5 or $10 more than what I got going on per phone. But that's not necessarily it. The reason why it's cheaper overall is because you're on a plan with quite a few other people that are, making a decent quantity of money, or it's paying a decent quantity of money in groups, because that's one of the ways that they aid with sales is they bundle things to still get the money out of them. They add more amenities to it to still get the money out of it, but that's still going to contribute to inflation, because these are amenities that you should have been entitled to begin with, but they're going to consider them add-ons. You're going to pay the premium because you're going to think, oh, I want those add-ons. If you say, fuck those add-ons, I'm going to pay the basic. And if I don't get enough on the basic, I'm just going to go to a different company that has all of that as a basic. Then you're going to find yourself in a position where you're offsetting inflation, because inflation is going to be us being willing to pay more premium for the same stuff. Now, even though I know that they're offering satellite plans on a T-Mobile bill and everything to that effect, before I upgrade my phone plan just so that I can make a phone call from satellite, keep myself locked in to a fixed plan that's not going away, I save money where other people are going to spend money, right? But I'm still spending more money than what I need to. So restructuring is necessary. So let's bring this all home. We have started with the sensational stories of an official $1 gold coin featuring Donald Trump. And after digging past the headlines, we did find some things that not a lot of people were paying attention to. First, the United States has a long-standing law and a tradition against putting living people on its currency, and the Presidential $1 Coin Act specifically forbids that. The official coins that you are currently seeing in advertisements is almost certainly not from the United States Mint, because the United States Mint declared that they were going to be releasing the coins in the fall, and the fall just started, so they're likely going to release it in September or October, and you're probably going to acquire them more often than not from accessing it through your bank or a letter in the mail directly from the United States Mint. You got to look at where it's coming from. Second, the market is going to be flooded with unofficial Trump coins made by private mints. That is not the United States government. These are best described as commemorative metals, tokens, not legal tender. And you want to look at the fine print when it says that it is not affiliated with the United States government, and know that that's not a real coin. Now, the novelty items, they're not currency. They're just things that make you feel good when you have it. Trader says, I heard saying that if you owe the bank thousands, the bank owes you, but if you own the bank millions, you own the bank. That's the interesting story. Okay, a lot of the times, middle America, 50th percentile, puts their $250,000 into the bank, leverages their money in CDs and other such places, where the bank is selling off their money for loans to make more money, make money for the bank. And in that process, because you got $250,000 in the bank doesn't really want your money to go anywhere, because they're turning tons of profits off of your money being lent to other people. Your money is only protected up to $250,000 per account. But if you have multiple accounts with the bank, it is quite possible that each account can be protected under up to $250,000, but I wouldn't push that limit. There are millionaires and billionaires that do have millions of dollars in one bank, but more often than not, they spread their money around through a plethora of things. The saying that if you have a few $1,000s in the bank that the bank owns you versus if you have millions of dollars in the bank, you own the bank. Yes, if you do have your money in the bank, you own the bank. But if you owe the bank millions of dollars, you don't own the bank. The bank owns you. So the difference is that if the bank owes you millions of dollars, you got the bank under your thumb. If you owe the bank millions of dollars, like massive $10 million loans on real estate properties, no, the bank owns you. The other way around. Because if they don't get their money, they take your assets and potentially your profit margin if your asset isn't enough. So you want to make sure that when you're doing business with your bank, outside of them holding your money on your behalf, you're doing business with your bank in a way where you are benefiting from what your bank has to offer, which is opportunity cost. You're not trying to get a specialist to talk you into buying a product that you don't need when you could have done the work yourself. Okay. If you're talking to a bank agent that is not trying to resolve your problem without you buying another product, then that agent is not trying to help you. But banks will know whether or not you're self-sustainable or if you're just getting by. Because if you're just getting by, you're not going to ask how much, you're just going to agree to services. If you're struggling to become self-sustainable, you're asking for solutions to help you save money, right? And they're going to turn a profit off of that. But if you are self-sustainable, you're not asking them for nothing. You're telling them what to do with the money that they have in their possession. Move it to the left, move it to the right, put it into a CD, put it into a trust. Some people create brokerage accounts through their trust, through their bank accounts, whatever. You're telling them what to do with your money, right? And in that scenario, you have more control over your money. And if you have enough money in the bank under your name that would ultimately cover the GDP of the bank, that's when you start on paper owning the bank, because you are a large shareholder of the bank. And you'll find that while buying CDs is one thing, becoming a shareholder in a bank is possible, but it requires you to have a substantial quantitative capital to do so. And that's when you start becoming a decision maker. You become a person that's on the board, but you want to have the kind of lifestyle where your day is answering phones, being told every phone call is money. And it's not money that you have to pay, it's money that you got to receive. And that's the kind of life that we're trying to build towards, but it takes us a little bit of effort to get there. Now, one of the third things that we discussed today is that, these items with the gold coins, they're not real gold. The United States is circulating coins that are made from that brass and copper with a little bit of like fragments of gold in it. It's going to be worth what we discussed, 18 to 30 cents on the dollar, which is not nearly as much as what the metal is being advertised for. Privately sold gold-plated items contain only microscopic fragments of gold, just enough to make it shine. And it's financially insignificant, the amount of gold that's in them. The entire phenomenon is driven by a powerful political leverage that attracts passionate supporters so that they can sell these novelty items with enormous profit margins. Because if it says 24 karat gold and you have no way to test it to prove it, you're willing to pay $500 to $1,000 for a commemorative coin that is only worth like $3 worth of gold, right? These companies that are creating this are counting on you to not know the difference between what's being sold from the United States Mint and what's being sold by the private businesses with slick websites. They're going to be banking on the idea in the heat of the political passions that you won't stop and ask these hard questions. And I'm telling you guys to ask them today. And this isn't just about one type of collectible. It is a case study in being a smart consumer. You want to always ask who made it. Always ask what it's made of, and then always ask the price and see if it reflects real value. Or just a really good story. Because if it's a really good story, yeah, it sounds nice, but you don't benefit for it. The world is going to be full of people trying to sell you something, and knowledge is going to be your best defense against buying something that's worthless versus buying something that is worthwhile. Last one, trader says, it seems that the banks that loaned out a lot of cheap money are going to be in trouble because the interest rates went up and a lot of commercial real estate need to refinance at higher rates. I did not see that the interest rates went up, because the last time I looked at the interest rates stayed the same for this quarter. If they're projecting that for Q3, which Q3 would have just started in August, that the interest rates went up, then I would be able to verify that. However, I do recognize that real estate is going to have a hard way to go with what Donald Trump just did with real estate. So if they have to refinance some of the properties that they are not putting up for sale, the banks are going to have a field day, because the banks are going to get more money on the refinance, because they're going to be paying, the customer will be paying more on the loan than what they used to. Now, if the interest rates would have gotten slashed in the last 30 days, because I just talked about interest rates between June and July, if the interest rates would have gotten slashed in the last 30 days, where interest rates would go down further below the 6.5%, 7% that it was at all this year, and people were refinancing for cheaper interest rates, then the bank would be losing money on it. If people are refinancing for a more expensive interest rate, the banks are not losing money on that. The banks are fronting money. Anytime you refinance, you're starting your loan over, because if you're refinancing a 30-year fixed mortgage where you put 10 years into it and you refinance it, you're starting the clock over. You're going to pay an extra 10 years worth of interest. Whether it's 6.5% or it's 2.5%, you're going to pay an extra 10 years worth of interest. The difference is that the average broke-minded person is going to see lower premiums, the lowest amount that you can pay, and they're going to start paying that amount. The smart move is that if you did find a way to remortgage your property where your monthly note that you owe is less, you still give them the same amount of money you used to give them, if not more, so that you're putting more money towards the principal. For example, we're going to make this the last example for tonight. For example, if you were to have a $1,500 a month mortgage, you were paying $2,000 a month on that mortgage, where $500 of it was going directly on the principal. You remortgaged the property, refinance the property, and because interest rates are in your favor, you now have a $1,000 a month mortgage. Some people would pay the $1,000 a month. If you were smart, you would keep paying the $2,000 a month, because now you can put $1,000 a month directly on the principal instead of $500. Even though you started the loan over and now you've got another 30 years, if you're putting an extra $1,000 a month on your loan, you're putting an extra $12,000 a year on your loan, which is $120,000 in 10 years. It doesn't matter how much your property is worth, you're likely going to pay that property off 50% faster than what you would have had you just paid the bare minimum. And by refinancing and reducing how much you owe per month, you're reducing how much money you're putting towards interest rates and increasing how much money you're putting towards the principal. And that's something that people need to pay attention to. He said the bank will get stuck with properties that the owners will walk away from. Well, any property that gets foreclosed on, the bank is going to be stuck with it until the bank sells them in bulk. And now the bank cannot sell as many single family homes to the real estate investment businesses, because those real estate investment businesses are not allowed to have more than like 305 or 350 houses in their single family homes in their inventory. They can have a bunch of apartment complexes, but they can't have more than 350 or 305 single family homes. So the bank would now have to auction to the highest bidder to single family entities or single house purchasers, because you can't buy 500 houses in a day because you got the money because you're a business, because the government bans that now. You can only buy like one house at a time. If you're a small business or a mid-level business where you've got like one house, 10 houses, 50 houses, you can go and buy 1 or 2 houses at a time. But if you've got like 500 houses, You're gonna have to sell some, but you can't buy any more because they got a cap on it, right? So and foreclosure has always been a thing, but the what's happening right now in the economy is not going to make it harder on the banks. It's going to make it harder on real estate development businesses. It's going to make it harder on fix and flippers. It's not going to make it harder on the banks. The banks are going to have the same shitty deal that they had in 2008. It's not going to make it any worse for them. The way the laws have changed, they just have a different person bidding on the property when the property goes up for sale. So that's really all it's going to do. They said, I hope the banks take a haircut, but not the taxpayers. No, the taxpayer, everything that the bank does rolls off on the taxpayers. And the reason why that's going to happen is that because when the bank absorbs debt, it's going to be redistributed to its customers through increased fees in bank services. Start charging. You used to have free accounts, and now some of those bank accounts are charging a monthly service fee. You have interest rates are going to go up for loans. CD rates are going to go down. You're going to have certain services that used to be cheap are now going to be like $15, $20 a piece. That the bank is going to make its profits back off of the customers that it serves. So if they take a cut, taxpayers are going to take that cut. Everything is offset onto the consumer. That's why we talked about on the show a while back that tariffs don't hurt other countries the way it hurts the American people, because the American people pay for the cost of that tariff at the cash register, because the country that sells it for a rate. The shipper pays that rate. The shipper upsells it, including tariff costs, and sell it to the retail store. The retail store increases the price and sells it to the customer. When the customer buys it, the customer buys the product with the inclusion of the retailer's cost to get it there, the importer's cost to ship it there, and the base price of the product from the manufacturer. So everything gets put off onto the customers. Everything gets put off onto the taxpayers. So there's not going to be a situation where the taxpayers are going to get a relief, because that's what everybody does in big business, in small business. Economically, we offset our expenses onto the customers because that's how we stay afloat. All right, we're going to wrap that up with that comment there. We are coming back tomorrow with everything that's going to be in order. So make sure that you guys stay tuned for Tuesday night show. We're going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, guys, I give you this information to help you guys become higher value men, not just to improve your finances, but to also improve your personal lives, your decision-making skills. Well, ladies, well, this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective. You too can take this information and make yourselves higher value women. It requires you to find things in your life that are inside of your control and put in effort to proactively change that, and then navigate around things that are outside of your control. And then paying attention to your 20, 30-year plan and reverse engineering. That's what you're going to do today to conquer those 20 and 30-year plans. Keep your eyes and ears open for the right suitor that has the right potential, the personality characteristics, and the drive, ambition, dedication, admiration, motivation, and integrity to accomplish his goals, and then see what goals they are and see how those goals mesh well with your goals. That would accomplish your ability to see long-term satisfaction versus short-term gratification. Matter of fact, I got an example on my way out of the door real quick, is that I had a family member talking to me about going on a vacation. I was talking to them about going on a different vacation. I wanted to spend a month or more in another country. They wanted to be on a cruise ship. We both are talking about a vacation, but we're not talking about the same thing. You're talking about 9 days on a boat. I'm talking about 30 days in another place. That's not the same thing. We can't do them both. We can only do one, because a boat stops at specific docks over the course of 9 days and they go back to port. The other one, you have to fly to another country. So you got to pay attention to the difference, right? So if their goal doesn't mesh with your goal, you have to decide, are you going to pivot your goal, or are you going to stay fast on your goal, right? And if you guys are both focusing on long-term satisfaction together and your goals do mesh well together, then you have the capabilities of recognizing that two people can be more successful together than individually. And that's why I tell you guys that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, because you're both working towards the same thing. So with that being said, special shout out to FX Trader, Michael, Steven, Joe Jack, Aztec, Unk, Andy, and OG Kicks. I really appreciate you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. and I will be seeing you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.